This is Kristy with Guidepost to Wellness, and I wanted to talk to you today about some mindless eating tips for the holidays. So, for those of you, I have done several videos on mindless eating. This is an outstanding book where the author, Brian Wansink, has gone through and done a lot of different tests to figure out ways that whether it's the food industry or our own habits are sabotaging us by making us eat mindfully. So what I wanted to do is provide a couple of tips. There's an appendix in the book where the author talks about different styles or different dietary traps, if you will. So I pulled out a couple of those that I think really will apply during the holidays. I've been thinking a lot about that because I was just helping put together the meal plan for our office holiday party. So what I came up with are 3 different types of dietary traps during the holidays that I think apply to a lot of people, and some tips to work around them, ways to become more mindful. So the first one I think a lot of us have probably felt in the past, and that is the meal stuffer, where you have those special meals that you don't get to have very often. I mean, I can think back to when my mom was alive, the holiday meals that she would make and the spread, and just you would eat all of these yummy foods until you almost felt uncomfortable. So that's the meal stuffer. And there are some ways that if you go into those meals that you can kind of help avoid that, but still enjoy all the goodies. One of the things that I've found, and the authors talked about this, and I know in personal experience this has really been an eye-opener, is the smaller plate. Because we are so visually oriented when we eat that even if you take the same amount of food, but you put one on a dinner plate and one on a salad plate, one looks empty and you're more inclined to fill up that empty space. So using a smaller plate during your holiday meals will help with that a lot. One thing that can happen too that can be distracting during a holiday meal, and you can eat faster and not really be thinking about it, and then it's just that whole pace and everything. So if there are things that you can do to kind of slow down your pace, sometimes it could be playing some slow music in the background. One of the things that I went to a military school, and when we were freshmen, they monitored how we ate and everything, and we had to literally take a bite, set our utensils on the side of the plate, and put our hands into our laps, chew the food, and then you could prep and take another bite. And that is actually something that works really well, even eating at the dinner table and causing you to slow down a little bit and savor that food even just a little bit more. Another way to savor the food is to count the number of chews, or try to chew your food like 20 times every bite. One of the things that is really noticeable when you eat quickly, if you eat in a hurry, you eat at your desk, you eat on the run, anything like that, how many times have you ever eaten food and you barely tasted it because you wolfed it down? And that's actually really detrimental to our digestive system too, because we don't chew it enough, and we actually get larger chunks of food in our stomach, and it takes a lot longer to digest and can be harder on us and more uncomfortable. So try to come up with a number of times to chew. I would challenge everybody, even just while you eat your next meal, try to count the number of times you chew. Don't try to chew a certain number of times, but count the number of times that you actually chew. And I think you might even be surprised that some of the things you only chew like 3 or 4 times, and then you swallow it and it's gone. So think about trying to chew every bite that you eat, maybe 10 times or something like that, and see how that goes. That might slow you down a little bit. Another tip that can help in a lot of situations, not just your holiday meals, but is filling half your plate full of like vegetables, whether it's steamed or raw or salad types of foods. And then the other half of the plate, that's where you put your starchier foods like your mashed potatoes or pasta or things of that nature, and your proteins. So then you're trying to fill your plate up with a lot of really highly nutritious, bulky, fibery foods, so that you eat a little less of the foods that may be more calorie dense but a little less nutritious. Another thing that can really be helpful, and it can help your digestion in general, is to drink a glass of water before you eat your meals. And that applies to all of them, including the next dietary trap, if you will. This is the snack grazer. And this I can see already in the office place where people are bringing in cookies or there's candy dishes out. And the author talks about this in a lot of different places, just about the visibility of food has us a lot more liable to eat it if it's right there and it's visible. So don't put candy dishes out. Don't leave your snacks sitting out, especially if you are trying to wait until company comes or something of that nature and you don't want to eat them beforehand. Then put them out of sight. Out of sight, out of mind really does work with snacks and things like that. And that also works with your leftovers so that you aren't inclined to, every time you go to the refrigerator, grab a high calorie snack when you're not really hungry. That is to wrap it into packaging that you can't see through. So aluminum foil instead of plastic wrap. Make sure that you're not using clear containers for your desserts and your high calorie foods, and maybe putting your veggies and carrot sticks and fruit and stuff like that into clear containers, so that you might opt to choose that instead. So snacking, that's one of the things, is definitely wrap stuff up, keep it out of sight. Then the last one is for all the parties that happen during the holiday seasons, because the parties don't happen as often. We may not have good strategies for how to handle going to a party that's going to have like a buffet or a lot of hors d'oeuvres or snacks and things like that around. So a good thing to always do for that is to eat a light snack, light, healthy type of snack before you go, so that you're not hungry. Because definitely when you're hungry, you're going to eat more mindlessly at a social type of gathering. When you get to the gathering, drink a glass of water first. And not like a high calorie pop or something like that, but actually just drink a glass of water to help fill your stomach up. And that will help a little bit with the hunger and not eating as much. A couple things to consider if there's a buffet table around or just an area of the food is don't hang around that area to socialize. Walk away from that area to have your conversations, to sit and to visit and things like that, not right there by the food. So it's just really easy to just reach over, keep grabbing those meatballs or, whatever yummy little snacks there are. Another thing that you can do, and I was thinking about this even for our holiday get-together in the office, because I know there's going to be a lot of choices of food. And variety is one of the things that can really fool us into eating a lot more food, because we like the variety. And during the holidays and gatherings, you might have food that you don't get any other time of year. But the way you can kind of help control that a little bit better and slow down a little bit better with the smaller plate, but is also only taking 2 items at a time, so that that slows you down. And if you walk away and eat it and then come back, that's another way to kind of slow down and allow the brain to kind of fill in a little bit too, and recognize that you're not hungry anymore. And hopefully that'll help with slowing down the eating during a social situation like that, like a party or where you've got an open buffet. So again, I want to enjoy the holiday season. I know I've got a couple of situations like this coming up. I'm going to try some of these tricks that I don't already use to help make sure that I don't eat so much that I'm uncomfortable. I don't want any holiday weight gain. That's really not a necessary evil. You can still enjoy all the wonderful foods and stuff if you take the time to recognize, one, what do I do? Am I a party binger? Do I graze all the time if there's goodies around? Am I a meal stuffer? Try to recognize some of those things before you go into the holidays or into those situations. Then that can help you a little bit too. So I'd love to hear your comments. If you've got any other additional tips and ways that you've, through the years, have helped you with the holidays and avoiding the meal overeating and avoiding the weight gain and things like that, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. So please feel free to share this video with friends and family, and subscribe if you'd like. I'm trying to get 100 people on my channel. I know that sounds like kind of crazy, but I'm hoping to get 100 people on my channel by the end of the year. So I would love for you to pass on this video if you like it. So take care and have a wonderful holiday season.